We are looking at the back end, and we are going to have a look at how to capture a user or edit an existing user. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on company contacts. Your site should, your specific company, should list already, but because I'm a master user, I have to actually physically go and select a company. Then the list of users that you have in your company will appear. If you want to edit that user, you'll click on edit. If you want to add a new user, you click on add. If you click on add, you're going to have to give the user a name. If that user needs to log into email, into Elint, obviously you'll have to fill in his email address, because we log into Elint with our email addresses. You're going to have to give him permission to log in, and mobile number is optional, but it's nice to have on the system. If you have multiple companies, you can then select multiple companies that user can view or work in, and you click on add, and it will open a user like we have on the screen here. If I want to edit a user or change any detail of the user, maybe delete the user because they're no longer with the company, you can click on edit. The very first section that you see is what you've created when you first created the user. So if I want to delete this user, I will go in and say delete, and no more login details, and I will save that person, and it will go into a deleted section. It will never delete the person from the database, because this person might have already worked on the software and created a record under their name, which you would like to continue with for auditing purposes. So even though you're going to change the person's name, because the responsibility will move from one person to another, the record that was developed, say for instance in December, will still have this person's name in. So Elint does not delete the person, but it just takes the person off the option list for the front end user and the administrator to use when they assign tasks or compliance management measures to people. So that's how you do the editing of a specific person's permission to access the system. Then we have sites. You've got site permission. You can add sites to a person. So if you click on add sites, you'll have a list of sites drop that's linked to that specific company, and then you can add or select or deselect that specific site that you want that person to have permission to view or work in, and you update. Then you need to actually assign the specific permissions to the specific site. So if we click on the permissions, it opens the permission list. It tells you what is the person's role and who's the manager. So if we click on edit, this person is the check manager. So we have a check manager, and he reports to Leon, which is a user in the system already, and he's got full permission to view, change. He's an administrator, to do everything he needs to do in the system to make sure that the system is running perfectly right. And the only thing he doesn't have is restricted read only. The restriction read only is a permission that we give to companies that maybe is not using Elint anymore, but they want Elint's platform to keep the records that they've created over a period of time. Then we give them restriction to read only to those sites, and those sites are not live sites any longer. Once you've made a change, all you do is you just select save, and it will save the permissions. You have to give the person the permission to, or the permissions that's applicable to that person, otherwise they won't be able to make any changes. To make sure that your available permissions is moved to your granted permissions, or your granted permissions is moved back to your available permissions, you click on the actual permission, and then you just click on your arrows, and that will move it across. If you want everything to move across, then you click on the double arrows. If you want to to the right or the double arrows to the left, and it will move it each way. And then again, remember to save, to make sure that the permissions are saved into the system as what you've selected. Under the system's permission, we allocate certain permissions to your check people so that they can be the administrators and work in the back end. So when we create a username, so this username will be created by an Elint master user, and when we do that, we give them specific permissions to have site management of Elint so that they can make the different changes that they need to make. So the system permissions will not be available to edit by the company administrator, but rather by the Elint administrators. And that is how you make changes or add a new contact.